Shadow Show.
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 Shadowing it.
Huh.
I've got the concept of a plan today.
You do?
I do.
Wow.
It's going to be difficult because there's a lot going on.
Yeah.
You've got crazy football people. We've got the remnants of football opinions. Tony came in here, and he's got a lot of things that have not been said.
Right.
You've got a bunch of top 5 lists.
Oh, I do?
I'm so locked in on those.
He's got a top 5. He's got a couple of top 5 lists. One of them are the best 5 0-1 teams and the worst 1-0 teams.
My top 5 1-0 teams, my worst, my top 5 0-1 teams, my worst 1-0 teams, and my top 5 destinations for Bill Belichick through week 1. I mean,
Jessica was arguing on behalf of Sam Darnold being a week 1 MVP type of quarterback, that your best quarterbacks after 1 week are Tua, Baker Mayfield, and Sam Darnold.
I'm not sure who 4 and 5 are on that list either.
Stafford was good.
Yeah.
Missed a couple throws.
How about Mahomes? Was Mahomes not good enough to make the top 5
okay.
list?
Oh, that was
Forget
last
about
Thursday.
the Thursdays, yeah.
Love
Thursdays don't
pre-injury,
count.
though.
Expected more.
Special.
Purdy,
Okay.
maybe.
Love, but only pre-injury.
Yeah,
huh?
post-injury, obviously, we don't know.
Yep.
We're going to talk some debate. Jessica, were you able to make it till 11 p.m. last night?
I was locked in. I stayed up until midnight last night. So it's going to be a long day for me.
I did, but
You okay?
I was able to. You're not okay?
I'm not okay.
I was only able to stay up that late because of all the pets I ate during the day. You know, fuel, good fuel. I remember, Stugotz, in the 80s, like when it's an old trick, and you live long enough and you see some of the silliness sort of recreate itself, and people don't have the history to remember it.
Right.
But when Haitians got here, that was something that Miamians were doing to make them other, to say, they're eating the pets. I didn't have that as a sort of platform.
A talking point?
Yeah, I just didn't. I mean, 2 weeks before the election, it's a pretty critical time. Like, just think of it this way. I win the presidency or I die in prison. How do I stave that off? I accuse others of eating pets. Mm-hmm. That's my plan. I either topple democracy or I accuse others of eating pets. That's how I avoid dying in prison.
The shock value there was awesome, though. For the people that are just kind of like have it on in the background and you're like just scrolling through your phone, not really paying it. Like, wait, what?
What did he
just
say? Yeah.
Eating what?
Yep.
Billy, you seem befuddled.
Well, because I thought we were in October. Election's not in 2 weeks.
2 months.
Yeah. We're close. But
So fine.
I just got thrown off.
Okay.
$5.
All right. Good start.
Stop that. Stop that. Stop that. I hear him chat to the noise. Move too quick, can't stop for the talking. I hear him chat with the walking. Just too sharp with the prize. White girls better tell me I'm awesome. Yeah, hot like fire on the pan. If you wanna touch my please use caution. Cold like 0 degrees. I'm out the cage, gotta let out the beast. Revolutionary, gotta let out the streets. Locked in a cage, I'ma let out the sheets. You came for one man, forget my peace. You take the west, I'll take on the east. I'ma put him in a cage, never let out the. I hear him chat to the noise. Move too quick, can't stop for the talking. I hear him chat with the boys. Man so tough, but man's keep walking. Yeah, just too sharp with the prize. White girls better tell me I'm awesome. Yeah, hot like fire on the pan. If you wanna touch my please use caution. Stop that. Stop that. Stop that.
Chris, before we get to debate stuff, can I have a couple of palate cleansers, the sorbet or the lemon that you put in your mouth to, make sure to get all the other tastes out? Can you just give me some Mad Dog on the New York Jets, please, just as a bit of a palate cleanser to start off our day?
You cannot perform this way. I mean, I understand, all right? I didn't expect you to win, but can you go out there and at least keep me? I went to bed at 7.5 minutes to go read my book on Kent State from 1970. May 4th. It's a good book. It's about Kent State. A lot of issues with that, too. We'll get to that. I mean, but that's how bad the game was. There was no need to watch it. I said enough. I'm watching this. I'm annoyed anyway. And when do I ever get annoyed about the Jets? I'm not a Jet fan. But here's the one time I open up my big fat mouth and tell the world I bet the Jets on an over because I'm that confident. I take them every which way as possible. And they go out there and they lay a proverbial big fat egg.
That did help. I feel better.
I mean, the great part is just the Kent State book. It's so
We'll get to that
random.
later.
Sounds like an interesting book.
I know. We'll get to that later. I have issues with that as well. He's the best.
Well, it's not about Kent State football. I'm guessing.
Yeah, I
about,
assume it's about the National Guard shooting people.
Yes,
Dan.
the protests on the U.S. invasion of Cambodia. I suspect probably not Kent State football. What is Kent State football? What is their mascot?
The Golden Flashes.
The Flashes.
They lost this weekend to St. Francis. Rough time for them.
Yep.
I need another palate cleanser, please. More palate cleanser to get some of that debate off of me from last night. Let's go ahead and just play the first caller to Cleveland radio. Is this after the whole Deshaun Watson losing by 1,000,000 points at home to Dallas? First caller to Cleveland radio.
Dave in Macedonia, you're first up in the fan. Hello.
Good morning, boys.
All right.
He's quoting Daniel Caffey. Please. There's some two numbers. You'll figure them out. 42.9, 144.
What is all this?
Watson's quarterback rating, Mayfield's quarterback rating.
Oh, Christ. I can't do this for one more second. No, that's enough. That's enough. The first call out of the box, we're going to do this. The very first call out of the box, we're going to do this. No. I know what his quarterback rating was. I know that he was good. Guys, I'm not doing it right out of the damn box. Can I have a little bit of time before we do this? Can I have a little bit of time? That he ain't coming home. He ain't coming back. Only to play us. That's it. He had a great day down there. Congratulations on all his success. I can't undo the trade. I can't undo it. You ready to go to another one?
Go ahead.
That's from 92.3 The Fan in Cleveland.
Sports radio.
Yes. After week one, let's do some more palate cleansing. Let's get to Stugotz's top fives here.
Wow.
On
all of them?
All of them. Let's get to all of them here. Billy, what happened? What are you making?
I'm a little worried if we're doing all the palate cleansing now, what's to come?
Yeah.
Because we're going to run out of palate cleansing materials to cleanse
Do
our
you?
palates.
I don't think football will allow us.
I'm here. We'll be good.
I don't think we're going to be able to run out of palate cleansing material. Although, before we get to Stugotz's football things, I am curious from the group how you feel about the following, because I said the other day I don't know how surprised you're allowed to be when you see police officers being abusive anymore via video. But I also don't know how surprised I'm allowed to be, Stugotz, at the sheer number of people who don't think the police did anything wrong there, that they're blaming Tyreek Hill. Well, you sped, and you need to comply with everything after that. And also, all your previous crimes make you a bad victim. So I'm going to support the police here no matter what. I don't know that I'm allowed to be surprised by that either. If I'm telling you, you can't be surprised by the divisions of America that make it so that black people are tired of being perceived as a threat, but their life experience is a little bit different than some life experiences. So what you get is, oh, wait a minute. The police seem every bit the threat that the police behave like black people are. And so if you have two threats meeting each other, it's where and how things escalate. But I'm not allowed to be surprised that so many people, especially on right-wing websites, which is what Twitter now is, just simply side with the police.
His previous stuff has nothing to do with this particular incident. It's an isolated incident. And no, you're not allowed to be surprised that people are going to defend the cops and they're going to go after Tyreek Hill.
But rare, Stugotz, is any circumstance where you find that one side is 100% in the right and the other side is 100% in the wrong. You can have Tyreek Hill being wrong without it needing to escalate to where it escalated to, and then a blind defense of the police after that.
Well, Tyreek Hill said, hey, write me the ticket so I can get to work.
Stugotz, he was arrogant.
No, I'm not, Dan, I'm not saying he wasn't arrogant. I'm not saying he wasn't in the wrong. It escalated too much. It escalated too quickly. He said, give me my ticket. Let me move on with my day. I've said that to a cop before.
Yes, we have had.
Didn't escalate.
Well, I have seen plenty of videos of white people berating police officers and black people super confused about behaving that way with the police because, man, I have very few black friends who ever think a problem gets better by calling the police. Like, that's not my experience with the police. My experience with the police, even though I've been arrested for sarcasm, if I'm in trouble, I don't think the police are going to make it worse for me upon arrival. That has not been my life experience. But I haven't had my parents teach me that that's not the way Tyreek Hill, the way that he reacted to that, is not the way you react to a police officer if you're thinking of him or her as a threat the moment they arrive. Not as protection, not as enforcement, as a threat the moment they arrive. And so my parents didn't teach me to put the hands on the steering wheel and yes, sir, no, sir, yes, sir, no, sir.
Yeah. When you got arrested and you said, what are you charging me with? Did they actually say sarcasm?
No, it escalated because I became more and more sarcastic, telling the officer, congratulations in crime-ridden Miami for being the guy who protects the French fries at Johnny Rockets, and then I got arrested.
Okay.
That would hurt.
That I hurt the police
No,
officer?
I mean, I'm just like, yeah, if I was a cop, I'd arrest you after that. That's a jerk move.
Yeah.
I'm just working these French fries. I'm not always here. I do more important things than this. I'm not always protecting the French fries.
You would have cuffed him?
What was the top 5 palate cleanser? I retract my original pushback on that. I think it's time for the palate cleanser.
Do you have any palate cleansers today?
Do I?
Yes.
No, I mean, I have news if you want some news.
Well, you're saying we need palate cleansers.
Well, we were going to get to a top 5, I thought, no?
3 of them.
But you don't have any, though?
I mean, I could tell you want to talk some Marlins uniforms news?
Oh, wow.
I saw this tweet yesterday. You're on the beat.
I can tell you that Saturday, November 21st, if you like the City Connect red uniforms, is your last chance to watch them because they are retiring those City Connect red uniforms.
Really? I like those.
Caliente. Yeah, they are going to be introducing a new City Connect uniform next year. Now, I've done some additional
That's your news break.
around.
That was your original. You're repeating. This is a recycled news break by you.
It's like stats, right? Like if it's out there, it's, did I put it out there? Yes. Did I create the news? No. I just, reported the news.
I picture these scoops like an auction. Like all the local reporters are like, all right, I got this story. And then like no one's bidding. And Billy's like, I'll take that one. $10. No one?
Well, if no one's
Going
bidding,
once.
why $10?
Going twice.
Just give $1.
Okay.
You're saying 10's too high, Stugotz?
Yeah, why go straight to 10 if you can get them for $1? And Billy's all about getting a bargain. I mean...
All right, so I will not share the news with you if you'll mock me.
Let's do Stugotz's top 5 0-1 teams.
Oh, the 0-1s.
Do you have any OLI?
Nope, just
All
5, Dan.
Number 5.
Jacksonville Jaguars.
Number 4.
Indianapolis Colts.
I'd reverse the order on those. Number 3.
My list, Cincinnati Bengals.
Number 2.
Los Angeles Rams.
Tony made a face on that one.
That's
like a
all right.
bad
The Puka
smell.
news.
Like,
Puka news hurts.
He can make his list.
It does hurt, though. You do agree that the Puka news hurts, right? No?
It hurts, but I like that team. I like that coach.
Number 1.
Baltimore Ravens.
Time now for Stugotz's top 5 1-0 teams.
Well,
or top 5 worst 1-0
The worst
teams.
1-0 teams. They're 1-0, but I'm not certain I believe in them.
All right, top 5 worst 1-0 teams. They're not going to just be the teams that beat all those teams, are they? Number 5.
The Chargers.
Number 4.
The Patriots.
That's a bad football team. Like, no one's going to convince me that that's not the bottom of that division.
How's that not higher on this list?
Good defense, though.
My list.
Yeah, good half a team, or an okay half a team.
All right.
Number 3.
The Saints. Not buying it.
Really?
Nope.
Number 2.
The Vikings. I know Sam Darnold, potential Jess has him as the Week 1 MVP in the NFL. I am not buying it. I am not buying this football team. Nope.
Well, that's just because of your previous Sam Darnold
I hate them.
bias.
Yes.
Well, but it's your Sam Darnold bias. You will not believe that Sam Darnold will lead a winning football team.
Vikings-Niners this weekend. Revenge game for Sam Darnold. How about that? I mean,
We also got Bengals at Chiefs this weekend.
oh,
4
that's
o'clock.
a big one. Yeah.
Jessica, how's that a revenge game?
Darnold spent the last season with the Niners. I mean,
I don't even remember that.
he started.
I don't remember.
Can we do worst 0-1 teams next?
Sure.
Number 1.
The Kansas City Chiefs.
What?
Something's off, Dano.
You're not going to do that again, are you? You're not going to do that again.
I just did it.
Okay, well, hold on a second.
Oh, yeah.
This is...
Stugotz minor penalty, 2 minutes for Chiefs talk.
He has a Chiefs hat now. I thought we were Midwest guys this year.
I mean, Chiefs Kingdom. Listen, we were there. I wasn't that impressed. I got to be honest.
Well, you didn't watch the game. You were schmoozing in a suite half the time.
That's a good point.
All of your Chiefs words are irrelevant all season. You can't be allowed to comment on this football team when you've been the most wrong of anyone on the Chiefs the last couple of seasons. There's no one nationally who's been more wrong on the Chiefs. There have to be consequences for that.
He's going to be right one of these years.
He was almost right last year until they went on a run and won the Super Bowl. Other than that, though, he was, on the path to being possibly right.
Not to bring us back to politics, but it does seem like this election may be tearing apart the Chiefs locker room.
Taylor Swift made her endorsement immediately after the debate last night. Was that how that happened?
Oddly timed. Right when the debate was over, she endorsed him. Think they planned that out?
No, her.
No, I think she just went on Instagram and wrote out 3 paragraphs without thinking about it ahead of time, Chris.
She endorsed her, Chris. You might want to get this right. I understand that you're a little bit confused. For those
Did
of
he
you,
say him?
Yes, he
Oh.
did say him. For those of you confused by just in general all Chris Cody things, I present to you what it is that Chris Cody did last night to his unsuspecting parents. I don't know why you were with them. It must have been your dad's birthday, right? Your dad chose to celebrate his birthday by watching the debate with your mother, and you did the move, and I'm here for this being an evolution of your relationship with your parents. Highly Questionable was born, at least in part, from secretly recorded phone calls with my father that my father did not know I was recording, but he would not prosecute me for illegally taping him without his knowledge and then airing it. So I was able to get away with a crime many times. Chris Cody did this to his parents last night, and I wish for you to continue doing things like this.
Well, debate night was a big night for my parents last night, and we were going over there. We went over there for cake at 7 p.m. because my parents are like, I need you over here for cake, and then you get out of here because it's debate night. So I just knew it was a big night for my parents.
We had a cake here for Greg yesterday. He left before we could even sing him happy birthday and blow out the candles. He was in such a rush that we just had a melted football cake here sitting on a counter.
That's so sad. A melted football cake?
Yeah,
is
he
the
didn't want to
saddest
wait
thing
for
I've
us
ever
to sing to him.
And if around here, we're kind of an open book about our politics, but not me. Down the middle, Chris. Me and Roy. We're down the middle. You don't know where we sit in politics. I don't talk about it. People don't know. My mom, my dad, they're pretty open, okay? They lean left, all right? It's no surprise. So I went over there, and I just, I told them that maybe, my vote was up for grabs, and this is how it went.
I think my vote's really up for grabs tonight. What do you mean? What do you mean? No way. Don't tell me that.
Don't even say that to me.
What?
Don't tell me that on my birthday.
I just want to hear what Trump has to say. I think he's really.
He's got nothing to say.
I think he's really going to change his tone. I think we're going to get a new Trump tonight.
Oh, God. He's the worst person.
He seems to have turned a corner.
I'm going to punch you in a minute.
We were just talking about how,
That is so strange.
You don't think J.D. Vance seems like a good hang?
A good hang?
Yeah.
You people are so strange.
There's nothing Trump could say tonight to
Pathological
typical liar.
Well, like, I mean, first of all, like
Awful, evil person.
every politician though
The
tells
only
like
person he cares about is him.
I would vote for this before I would vote for Donald Trump.
A toy that Charlie chewed up?
Yes, there is nothing he can say to make
There
me
is
vote for him.
literally nothing he can
I just want to keep an open mind.
Down the middle, Chris.
Diplomacy. I like it. I like that you were trying to reach across the aisle.
I mean, I not my mind's not made up. I go into everything. I'm going to take all the information in, and then I'm going to make my decision. All right.
Let's hear.
Did you last night, or do you need another debate here? Still on the fence?
Still digesting.
Okay.
Want to hear what Tim Miller says in a little bit?
Let's hear Trump's reaction to hearing that Taylor Swift endorsed Kamala.
Just to finish up on that point then.
By the way, Lawrence is doing a very good job, I have to say. He really is.
He's doing a great. Hey, I've got a quick question for you. Out of nowhere, after the debate last night, Taylor Swift endorsed Kamala Harris. What do you think?
Well, I actually like Mrs. I actually like Mrs. Mahomes much better, if you want to know the truth. She's a big Trump fan. I was not a Taylor Swift fan. It was just a question of time. She couldn't. You couldn't possibly endorse Biden. You look at Biden, you couldn't possibly endorse him. But she's a very liberal person. She seems to always endorse a Democrat, and she'll probably pay a price for it at in the marketplace. But no, I like.
All right, fade that out there. He is causing division in the Chiefs locker room. He doesn't want to lose the swing football city of Kansas City.
Could he not find her name? There was a weird pause. He's like, I'm a Mrs. Mahomes. She likes me.
Can we go back really quick to Chris talking to his parents? There are two things that stood out to me. One, your dad saying, "Don't tell me this on my birthday." That just ruined. Dan wrote him this nice monologue. He had a football cake that he didn't eat any of. And then they had a nice dinner. But this is like a birthday ruining surprise. And then also your mom threatening to punch you.
The chewed up Charlie toy being something that he would vote for first, and you helpfully offering the visual aid because you've gotten used to us becoming a video thing and not just speaking in audio.
I would vote for this before I would vote for Donald Trump.
A toy that Charlie chewed up?
Yes, there is nothing he can say to make.
Please keep taping your dad in private. One of my favorite things about yesterday's monologue to celebrate Greg Cody is that many of you, and given the subject matter of what it is that I was talking about and how, many of you thought that either Poppy or Greg Cody had died, which was just lovely.
It wasn't just me when you did the Ron McGill thing. I was like, oh my God, Ron McGill died. Dan, you have a knack for doing these things. Maybe we turn the lights on a little bit. It was too dark.
Greg was sitting across the table from me, and I thought he was dead.
It's not the greatest reaction to have when what you're trying to do is summon a happy birthday. Yeah. For people to think that the person that you are saying, you're sort of sermonizing on behalf of, that you're giving a eulogy. I think it's one of my favorite things about it that because I was talking about living and dying, that many people were worried. There were people checking the internet to see if there was news in the middle of me talking because they couldn't wait to the reveal of, well, is Greg Cody there and dead, or is he not there, or is he dead and not there?
I feel like when Greg actually dies someday, you're going to also whiff on the tone of that. We're going to tune in. You're going to be
happy
super
birthday
happy
to you.
Everyone's going to be even more confused.
Let's find the laughter.
Is this a bit?
Stugotz has handed me something that is a significant news item about Stugotz's personal record book, The Real Winners and Losers in Sports, based on yesterday's sale in the Amazon book rankings of Sociology of Sports.
What?
Number 1.
Huh?
Sports humor. Number 1.
I'm not joking. This is not a book of jokes. It's my personal record book that I take very, very seriously.
Sports essays. Number 1.
Yes.
Sports essays, sports humor, and sociology of sports.
I love it. Thank you to all the listeners who are purchasing the book. Appreciate it. The pre-order is still on. You can go to StugottsBook.com. You get 2 bonus chapters. I'm just happy I'm ahead of Greeny. I got to be honest with you. Makes me feel good.
I've told you before that Greeny told me that he wanted to write a book that people remembered forever. My response was, like the Quran. And he keeps trying to write books so that someone can remember it forever. But number one in sociology of sports is Stugotz. That's a bit of a surprise.
It's an upset.
The sociology of sports is generally not something that I associate with the resume of one Stugotz.
I'll take it.
How many of you yesterday, and I didn't think this could happen to me anymore, Stugotz, with celebrity, right? I remember when we were talking about Tiger Woods and how we behaved around his infidelity and how bad you ended up feeling because all of us gathered around his private life in a way that made him hug his mother in public, and you were saying all along for months, I need to see it. I want to see it. And then you saw it and you're like, I regret wanting to see the discomfort of all of that. Mm-hmm. But many people with Tiger Woods felt betrayed because they believed the commercials. They did not think he would be capable of some sort of immorality that was that seismic because they were buying the product that was being sold to us. Dave Grohl yesterday, I got caught off guard by that. And that makes me a fool. He's a rock star. It makes me an idiot. I don't expect my rock stars to be faithful, but I was still disappointed by that because I thought he was different for some reason.
I'm so sick of when someone does something that is like something that other famous people do, the reaction being like, well, are you surprised, Tony? No.
Are you surprised?
Yeah, a little bit. But what am I supposed to do? Just not talk about it? Not be like, oh, surprise kid. Like, oh, unfazed. Like, it's Dave Grohl. Yeah, I'm a little surprised he has a kid with someone else. It's not just that he cheated on his wife. He has a kid, and he announced it on his Instagram posts in a weird font and in a very passive voice.
While touring with his kid, correct?
That I don't know.
Wow. I thought it was while touring with his kid. Are a lot of people making the I've got another confession to make joke?
Yes. Every person has made that joke, and it has been funny every time.
Very interesting font. Like, what do you think he's doing here? What's
it's
going
a weird
on with this font?
Right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. It's not Comic Sans, but it's something. I'm gonna get back to you on this.
I'm with Tony on this, though. You cannot be surprised when the rock star cheats on his wife.
The rock star, the athlete, people who have access to fame, money, people are doing things that are unscrupulous. Okay.
So wait a minute.
Why am I surprised by that?
Are you incapable? Are both of you incapable of being surprised by anybody on this front? Like, if I make anyone a famous athlete, famous musician, you guys are going to say, yep, I don't believe that person when they are projecting family person.
100%.
What if I did it? More or less shocked?
Yeah, where are you drawing the line
I'd be more
on
shocked if
fame
Chris
here?
did it. Chris is a good guy.
Yeah.
Wait a minute. What does that mean?
He's a good guy.
But he's got access to temptation as well. His father's very famous.
And that's what I'm saying. He's a good guy, so he shuns that.
We know
other
Chris.
people.
Yeah.
I think Dave Grohl has more access than Chris.
It's close.
I wonder if we are so numb to all manner of immorality that none of us can be surprised by anything.
I'm surprised you guys still put celebrities on a pedestal and think that they're holier than everyone else. Like, they're human beings. They're capable
who is doing
of doing
that?
things.
Who's doing that?
You guys
putting
that are
them on a
surprised.
You just said it. You were surprised.
Yeah, but that's not putting someone on a pedestal. That's just being like, I'm surprised you cheated on his wife and has a kid.
Tim Miller was the communications director for the presidential campaign of Jeb Bush in 2016. The Bulwark podcast that he does has gotten very popular every weekday, almost as popular as ours, you guys. In fact, if crazy shit keeps happening in the elections, his is going to get more popular than ours very quickly because he does things that are bite-sized, understandable, and get you caught up very quickly on everything happening everywhere.
You have the crazy stuff stopping?
That's correct. He's probably going to pass us here in the next couple of months, but he was in the spin room last night at the debate. And before I get to playing some clips for you, just your overall thoughts, Tim, on what it is that you saw there. And can anyone have their minds changed by anything they saw last night?
Yes. Hey, Dan, people can have their minds changed. If you don't mind, I need to eat a little dog to start, just for my integrity's purposes. The last time I was here, Stugotz was trying to get me to pick on Joe Biden, and I acknowledged it was the morning before that last horrific debate in Atlanta, which I also had to suffer through in person. And I acknowledged that he was too old, and I wished he was younger, and made a joke about it. But I do not think that I enunciated to the audience before that debate anything that would have prepared them for the disaster that would have unfolded. So I just want to throw that out there. Mercy of the court with Stugotz. I'm eating pet on this, and that's just my mea culpa. As for last night in Philly, Trump was just horrible. I mean, there's an old Alex Castellanos is an old Miami consultant down there, old Republican guy, and his rule of thumb is always you can decide who wins the debate by just muting it. You don't even have to listen. And Trump looked seething. He was angry. His makeup looked bad. His little neck hole was pulsing. He wouldn't even look at her. He couldn't even look at the vice president. She was staring him down most of the debate, and he couldn't even look her direction. And so I think his answers were gibberish, but he looked like a guy that was old and losing control of his faculties. And we look, there were dial tests last night. I can tell you, the Harris campaign and some media outlets that I spoke to in the spin room, they're talking to people who say they're undecided, who were moved by last night's debate. A couple of weirdos in Trump's direction, but overwhelmingly people are moved in Harris's direction.
Which of the things bothered Trump the most, if you had to guess? Being told by her that military leaders think he's a disgrace, that world leaders laugh at him, or that his crowds, people walk out because his rallies are boring?
I wish I could say it was the line where Putin is going to eat you for lunch and that world leaders laugh at you, because that's what I enjoyed the most. But clearly the crowd size thing is what gets under his skin the most. And that happened early. Here's the thing. Harris, I thought, was a little nervous in the first 10 minutes, 15 minutes. It wasn't even good bait. I'm not a fisherman, so I can't really extend this metaphor any further. But her line about how his crowds were sad was not particularly well delivered, and it was during the immigration portion of the debate, which should have been his strong suit, and he immediately got totally derailed into defending his crowd size right at the moment he should have been on offense against Harris, on an issue that's strong for him. And it was in that answer that he goes off about eating pets and how the Haitians, you guys know Haitians, they're Haitians down there, the Haitians are apparently abducting dogs and cats and eating them. And so that kind of moment where she trolled him over the crowd size during the immigration portion, I think is really where things changed.
How many people are out there with a very different assessment than yours, saying, no, Trump was great last night, or good last night, not horrible last night?
Yeah, I mean, look, and there's some people for whom Trump can do no wrong, but I can tell you, I went around the spin room, and as a former Republican, you mentioned I used to work for Jeb. I know some of these guys. I don't really know the super MAGA ones, but the ones who've been around, I know. And I was talking to them, and their body language was bad. They would give me real talk if they thought he was good, if they thought they had something a point to argue. Matt Gaetz, I talked to for a little bit. Me and Gaetz go way back. We're about the same age. And, he was in debate prep. And, Gaetz is a guy that, for all of his horrible traits, can just give you real talk. Like, when we're off the camera, he won't BS. Like, he'll tell you what he really thinks. And he didn't have it. He couldn't enunciate a good thing that Trump did last night. I mean, you could just sense that they were without a leg to stand on. Look, I've advised. Look, we mentioned Jeb. I've advised guys that lost debates. We lost plenty of debates to Trump. Usually, what you do in that case in the spin room is you come out and you think of a good thing that your candidate did, And you're like, you really hang your hat on that. You're like, well, we had this great moment where he got the better of the opponent on this or that. There wasn't even a moment. They didn't have one. I asked Corey Lewandowski what the best moment was. He couldn't name one. I asked a couple other people who your listeners wouldn't know, but other kind of MAGA advisors of Trump. They couldn't come up with anything. All they had was complaining about the moderators.
Tim, I agree with everything you're saying, but I will ask you this. Does
Please.
it matter? Does it matter?
I think it matters on the margins, and here's why. Because Harris, since that Biden debate, and the switch, Harris has coalesced kind of like the traditional Democrats who didn't like Biden, which was a significant amount, particularly like younger men, lower income men, were not happy with Biden, not happy with the economy. There were young people who weren't happy with Gaza. And she has coalesced all of them. And that took the race from one where Trump was winning to one that's basically tied. Maybe she's winning just a little bit. But there is another group of about 2 or 3% people that might stay home because they hate both, the double haters they call them, people that are my people that are traditionally Republicans, voted for Romney probably, maybe voted for Trump once, maybe said it out last time. They're gettable. It's not a huge number of people, but it's 1 or 2%. And because of the nature of the Electoral College, not to get too dorky here, but Republicans have an advantage in the Electoral College. And so Harris really needs to win by like 3 points to win. And so moving from being up by 1 or tied to kind of getting that 1 or 2% of people, either people that were on the sidelines and were like, okay, I wasn't sure about her. I hadn't really seen her get tested. That she passed the acceptability bar for me, and I'm sick of this guy. I'm ready to move on. Those people exist. I mean, you see them in focus groups. I talked to one in my life. One of my buddies from college one of his friends was like this. We had dinner earlier this week. So they're out there. And they are important for Harris to get because she needs to get a little bit of a cushion if she wants to win in the Electoral College.
The Chris Codys of America. Can you tell us what is the fairest criticism of the moderators and what you thought in general of criticizing the moderators?
Yeah, I don't really love criticizing the moderators. It's a tough job, and they're not there to be fact checkers. I do think that there are liberals out there that are like, the moderator should be fact-checking all the time. My criticism of them, I thought that there were a couple of appropriate times to fact-check. And when Trump's like, they're eating the dogs, and David Muir said, well, I called the city manager, and he says they're not. I thought that was appropriate. I'm blanking off the top of my head. There was one other one where they fact-checked where I thought it was appropriate. There was a moment in the debate where I thought that they fact-checked him like 4 or 5 times in a row. And let's be honest, he's lying the whole time. So you could fact-check him all night. And it felt a little excessive to me in maybe one moment, but I thought I'd give them an A-. I thought that they hit all the topics. Personally, I'm obsessed with the democracy stuff. I kind of wish they would have talked about January 6th earlier in the night, but they got to it. They got to all the. And there's no major topic you could say they didn't ask about, and I thought the fact checks were largely appropriate.
I think the other fact check that you're referring to was the one about abortion and killing babies after.
Yes.
They're
Correct.
being born.
That is the other one.
There were also a few times where they tried to pin him down on whether the election was stolen, on whether he wanted Ukraine to win the war, on if he would sign a national abortion ban, and he wouldn't give straight answers to any of those questions. I guess were you surprised when he said that he hasn't talked to J.D. Vance at all about his stance on abortion?
Yeah, thanks for asking that. The abortion answer was then right after that immigration crowd-sized dog exchange. The next segment of the debate was the abortion. And this is where the debate really goes off the rails for Trump. It's like he didn't prepare for that question. His initial answer about abortion was totally nonsensical. It was all over the place. He was trying to be for the states, but also for the Supreme Court justices, but also for reproductive rights. He didn't give a coherent position. Then her response was extremely powerful, I thought, just referencing the examples of women who had wanted pregnancies that couldn't get the care they needed because of these laws in 20 states. And then they go back to him with a specific question about about whether he would veto. This question is coming. You have to know what your vice presidential candidate said about this. Trump is a sicko. He monitors this stuff all the time. He doesn't do anything except for golf and watch Fox. And so he had to have known that was out there. And it was as if they didn't prep for that, the most obvious question of the debate. And maybe they did prep and he just didn't like the answers, or he's just starting to get too old to remember the lines that he's supposed to give. That one is bewildering. Stugotz,
really. So Chris Wallace, son of Mike Wallace, was a genuine newsman at Fox, and then the middle moved, and someone who was middle and neutral became someone who's on CNN. He was too much of a journalist to remain at Fox. This was his assessment last night of everything that happened, and I want to get Tim's reaction to this.
I didn't think I was ever going to witness a debate as devastating as the one that you and Dana moderated back in June, where Joe Biden basically tanked his reelection campaign. I think tonight was just as devastating. I think that Kamala Harris pitched a shutout. On almost every subject I can think of. She shut Trump down on abortion. She shut Trump down on January 6th and democracy. She shut him down on national security and turned to the former president and said, the military leaders who served with you think that you're a disgrace. And then, as Dana mentioned, very powerfully at the end made the point that she is the candidate of change. We need to turn the page from a decade of division and polarization. On substance, I think she pitched a shutout, and I think she did on style as well.
Tim?
I'm with him 95% of the way there. I do think she pitched a shutout. Again, I can't think of a good point that Donald Trump had or an exchange that he got the better of. As bad as the Biden debate. I mean, we're not going back, as Kamala says. We don't need to litigate it, but I don't know that it was as bad as the Biden debate. I mean, Biden couldn't talk. I think that it was maybe the second worst debate in modern presidential history, which, I don't know. Trump likes awards.
The Bulwark Podcast, as I said, every weekday, if you want to get caught up quickly, the communications director for the presidential campaign of Jeb Bush in 2016, Tim Miller. Thank you, sir. We appreciate it.
Thanks, brother. Thanks for having me.
Thank you, Tim.
Put it on the poll, please, Juju, at Le Batard Show. Who would surprise you more having a child out of wedlock, Dave Grohl or Chris Cody? At Le Batard Show. Because I do think that you're allowed to be surprised sometimes by the public image of someone fooling you on what you thought they were versus what they end up being.
I fell for it with Tiger Woods. We discussed that earlier. I will never fall for it again. I won't. Sorry. Can't be surprised.
I think there's a difference between putting someone on a pedestal and then being surprised when something in their personal life doesn't fit with their image. I think that there's a difference there. There's just some gray area.
Would you be surprised if Patrick Mahomes cheated on his wife?
A little bit, yeah.
I wouldn't.
And then I would move on.
Right.
I understand what it is that you're doing there, Stugotz, but I would ask you to now go through whatever you think the public images are of people, and now tell me where it is and how it is you might be surprised. For example, were any of you surprised that Ellen DeGeneres' career on television ended the way that it did, where her whole brand is nice? It's the whole brand. It's everything that she was televising at all times. Not that television is always real, Stugotz. For example, you've heard me recently make fun of Emmanuel Acho because of how performative he is. And so he tweeted on his new show, The Facility, moments after a sad, infuriating, tear-evoking conversation on Tyreek Hill, I attempted to continue the show as if all was normal. It wasn't. I'm grateful for James Jones, who did not allow us to rush by our humanity. On The Facility, we're not doing TV, we're doing life. Dude, you're doing TV more than anybody's doing TV. Like I understand.
You lead the league in television.
You're doing maximum television at all times, but Barkley says all the time, and he ain't wrong about this at all. Lord knows, Stugotz, this dude for 4 decades has figured out how to manipulate television to his every whim. And he's like, people believe television. They trust and believe that what is happening on their television is a real thing and that they know people who were on television. So none of you were surprised by Ellen, because I was. And anybody who makes it up through the teeth of comedy is going to have some elbows and teeth to be, especially a woman, to make it through that world. Like, you better have some thick skin.
I think maybe we need to clarify like our degrees of surprise, because I think there's the type of surprise where you're like, I'm surprised. And then like you go along with your day and you're like, yeah, I guess that makes sense. But then there's the type of surprise where you're like almost in shock because it rattles your entire world. With Ellen, I was like, I'm surprised. And then I thought about it for a while and I heard more and I was like, okay, moving on.
A shock that rattled the entire world for me was when they arrested Aaron Hernandez. We were like, wait a second, what? Like, he killed somebody? That one for me was shocking.
That was a little further.
When you talk about like people having children out of wedlock, there's a couple athletes here in Miami that have done that. And have we been surprised by that?
I will tell you that I was legitimately stunned by O.J. Simpson. The first few days before he was actually arrested.
Well, he was innocent.
Right. Yep.
The first couple of days of that, Stugotz, because his commercial appeal had been throughout to be palatable to all. Like, he was somebody who was one of the first spokesmen for commercial things in sports.
But that was murder.
So murder's the line for the show.
I'd say for me, murder's the line.
Well, for me, Ellen was the line, and that's where I was putting it on. Gave off nice on television.
What about
you guys? Not surprising. Took it to murder.
So if Patrick Mahomes murdered someone, I would be shocked. Okay,
But
if he cheated on his wife, move on.
Is it bad that like I'm more surprised? Like, oh, this person's actually like nice and decent.
Yeah.
Like, that's more surprising.
Until
I think
they're
that,
not.
yeah, this person's not the best.
The thing that I'm having trouble with is just generally that this room would be so entirely cynical that I can't give you an example where you guys aren't going to say, yes, that person will fall to every temptation and will not be a higher moral guide for me in any way. That you guys are basically saying that celebrity is so corrupt a contaminant that there is no human being that you believe will not succumb to all of the contaminants around celebrity. That there is no such thing as a family person in celebrity. That's what you're saying.
I could tell you that I would be shocked if you cheated on your wife. I could. I would be shocked. I think we would all be shocked if you did that.
I wouldn't say that we're not surprised or not saying that there's not just a family person in entertainment. We're saying we know a lot of people are capable of being multi-family people in the industry.
Mm-hmm.
They love families so much that they want the secret ones.
They want more.
Kirk Cousins.
Bartolo Colon had a secret family. Kirk Cousins, he's not accusing Kirk Cousins of having a secret family.
It sounds like you just accused him of having a secret family.
I'm saying the one person in celebrity and in sports who I could see being a straight down the middle guy who's just doing his thing, going to work, coming back home? Kirk Cousins.
You say that, but history is replete with the anti-homosexuality televangelist who ends up getting the gay massages on the side because what they're presenting to you isn't necessarily what they actually are.
Now you're seeing behind the curtain of the cynical nature of the room here, where you're saying anybody can do anything, and I'm surprised that Dave Grohl's got a kid out of wedlock. Come on.
Phillip Rivers would shock me if he had a secret family somewhere. That guy cannot have any more times or any more seed in him. I'm telling you.
Got a couple
There's
more
just
probably.
He
no.
does have the money for it, though, unlike a lot of people.
No, he does, but like the exhaustion that must come with that. Like, could you imagine having to have what does he have now? Like 11 kids or something?
I think it's up to 13.
What?
And then more? Like, it would be a lot. The idea of an affair, honestly, is so exhausting. Like, well, I can't. I'd rather be castrated than have an affair.
Wow.
I just can't.
Question.
I can't fathom the effort that goes into having to lie and keep this secret. It's too much work. I just want to sleep. It's too much work.
Tony was saying during the break that he would be stunned if Billy had an affair just because he doesn't have time. He's too busy dragging the kids around. Like there's no place for him to actually hide anything.
The dog's vomiting. His wife's calling him. Are you picking up the kids? Am I picking up the kids? Where are you?
They're both sick this week as a whole thing. Sometimes I think I tally up all the coupons that I go and I make my 4 or 5 different stops at grocery stores at the same time. And my grocery trip takes probably 2+ hours where I could just go to one store. And then I think to myself, if I was paying myself hourly, I would not come even close to getting even on the amount of extra time I'm spending doing all the grocery shopping to save maybe $10 or $11.
I think, Dan, the point is, it maybe is a little unfair to assume that every person is a piece of shit or is capable of being a piece of shit. But also, we all understand that humans are very complicated and make mistakes sometimes. I guess that's where I'm at.
And it's a fine place to be. I'm asking if there's any human being celebrity brand that you guys would be willing to put in a sacred place above that. It's what I keep asking you, and the reason I keep asking it is because I don't want us to be so cynical about the powers of temptation and celebrity that we do not believe that a famous human of any kind can withstand what that immorality is. Is anyone else making the observation, incidentally, because I have not been on the internet much the last 36 hours, how impractical a car that is for Tyreek Hill to drive with that many kids? You
think he has 3 car seats in the back, Dan? He's not driving those kids around in that car.
I'm saying how impractical a car it is to have in general. Phillip Rivers shouldn't be driving that car if he's got 13 kids.
He has a minivan. Phillip Rivers. You don't think Tyreek has a minivan?
He has a big van, not a minivan. He's got the extendo.
He's got like an RV, doesn't he? Wasn't he driving back and forth from San Diego to Los Angeles because it was too much of a hassle to bring the whole family with him, so his commute was 2 hours every day in a Winnebago. Isn't that what he was doing? He was actually doing. His commute was 2 hours a day when he was Chargers quarterback.
He would travel from San Diego to L.A., back to San Diego, and you're right, the car that he had, it's great. There's pictures of it on the internet. It had multiple televisions, so he could do film work, be prepared for the games, go over practice, the whole deal. It was like a house.
Have you seen on Instagram where people have this van life thing where they take a Mercedes-Benz Sprinter that's 20 feet long and then redo it so they can live inside of it and travel the world or whatever? Frankie wants to do that, by the way. Little side note. But
our security guy.
Yeah.
Thank you for the side note.
He told me, he's like, my dream one day is to take a Sprinter, redo it, and then I can drive around the country and live in the Sprinter.
That's only beneficial for the people in the back of the Sprinter. The person that's driving, it means nothing to them.
Yeah. Again, it's not so much the sleeping. It's the bathroom situation. You're showering outside and you have to save all the water you use and reuse it and use it to flush your toilet, and then you have to empty your own septic tank of your RV. That part is not for me. The driving around and sleeping part, I can manage that. I do that already. But I don't want to be using a bathroom next to where I sleep and then have to empty it out myself.
I'm with you. RVs and boats have uncomfortable bathroom situations, and airplanes as well. The only thing, because I can romanticize traveling the country very peacefully, quietly, Jack Kerouac style, just enjoying different cultures, different places, different tastes, and slowing life down right up until you put me in a cramped shower. And I'm like, nope, we can speed life up, and it's totally good. I need to be clean and comfortable when I'm cleaning myself. I don't want to be in a small plastic place.
Once you join the van life, though, I feel like showers go out the window, right?
That's
like,
the problem.
You
Once
shower
a week.
once a week.
Yeah.
I feel like, van life once a week is fine.
You shower when you find the lake.
Exactly right.
yeah.
I mean, what are you actually doing? You live in a van. It's not like you're going hiking. You're just driving around in a van, point A to point B. And when you get to point B, that's when you shower. How sweaty and smelly can you get just sitting in a van?
How different is that from like our lives with our daily commutes to work, and yet we shower every day?
Well, do
Yeah.
we?
Put it on the
Stugotz.
poll, Juju at Le Batard Show.
Every other.
Once you join van life, do showers go out the window?
Yeah. If you see him on Instagram, you're like, guy hasn't showered in about a couple days. I can tell.
Can we just go back to Dave Grohl's statement just for a second? Because the first line is, I've recently become the father of a new baby daughter born outside my marriage. Oopsies,
Was that in parentheses?
I've become a father. It's very passive voice. He's like, oops, I don't know how that happened.
Did you not assume, as I did, this is how Letterman attacked something like this? I immediately assumed that he was in danger of being outed, that this isn't information that one volunteers unless there's the threat some sort of it being exposed on you.
Yeah, it's very possible that that was the case.
He was staying ahead of it.
Is it unfair to make that assumption? Because it's once I read it done that way, I'm like, okay, there was something happening here that was about to get more unpleasant if he's volunteering this to us.
Yeah,
I don't know whether
it's
fair to do that or not, though. But I've already done it, so it's too late.
Mm-hmm.
Stugotz, I have told you before that basically everything that happened around O.J. Simpson. O.J. Simpson was the first athlete I liked.
Okay.
Of any kind. I'm at the Orange Bowl. My father's taking me to my first game. We're yelling, "Squeeze the juice." It's the first athlete I'm introduced to. And then his image is sanitized in a way that Ezra Edelman documented in his Oscar-winning documentary about O.J. Simpson that reveals that everything that happened around him had stuff that was being viewed totally differently based on what your life experience was while viewing it. So O.J. Simpson's trial was something that was legitimately, for me, the first time I ever saw, wait a minute, how can everyone have the same set of facts and be viewing all of this so differently depending on what their life experience is? And it's basically become something in America that when I look at Trump now, I feel the same way. How can everyone have the same set of facts here and see this all so differently? When it comes to Tyreek Hill, this is what I'd like to explore with you, because there are many, many people over the last few years who have left my side, left our side, the show's side, Miamians, South Floridians, who are like, nope, that guy's brain is fried. He's too woke for me. He's too far to the left, when I feel like I've just been standing in the same place the whole time and everything's moved away from me. I don't think I've gotten any crazier. I think the world has gotten crazier. And when Greg Cody sits here yesterday and says Tyreek Hill was caught driving while black, that was his crime. It was a gross overreaction by the police. I thought it was a plain abuse of power. And then the reaction to that from John Steigerwald is Tyreek Hill got caught speeding while black, and he didn't put his window down while black, and he scolded the cop for tapping on his window while black, and the cops overreacted. You're busted for speeding, put the window down, and shut up. And that would be the more prudent way to not get arrested. And I'm not saying that Tyreek Hill was in any way right for the way that he began that interaction. I simply don't look at that interaction and say that the police person's job is to make it any worse when you're not actually in danger. Once he does roll down the window,
right,
everything that is after that feels unnecessary.
But I think that guy, in response to Greg, is saying that if he just put the window down, do what the cops tell you to do in that situation, and then you get to move on with your day.
But what if you don't trust the cops, though? Agreed, agreed.
I think what Tyreek Hill said is plausible, that he wanted the window up because people were taking pictures of him in his car, getting arrested, getting detained, you know?
Regardless of what the reasons for it are, Stugotz, I understand anyone who wants to defend a police officer when dark-tinted windows go up and you don't know what the person inside is doing. But once you've got him out of the car and he's no longer obvious a threat, my curiosity is, why is it that you would not view that as more than just a bit excessive? Why would you not view all of that? Surely if it was happening to you, you would think it excessive. You would not say, I would want that to be the behavior if I'm sarcastic with a cop or if I'm arrogant with a cop. I don't want it to escalate to there unless you believe it is within the police officer's rights and his job to mistreat the people that he's trying or she's trying to protect and serve.
I think most people would just put their window down and keep the window down. That's what I think most people would do.
Agreed.
Tyreek Hill did not do that.
Agreed.
He had his reasons for not doing that, and they didn't realize it was Tyreek Hill at the time. So,
but you're right that I wouldn't want to be photographed being detained by police if I was on my way to the stadium and I was Tyreek Hill, and I've already caused my organizations, plural, enough headaches that I simply can't stay out of trouble. That's part of what's happening here. I understand why it is, even though they're case-by-case basis, why this makes for a very poor victim. victim. Like, his record makes him hugely unsympathetic. Like, I actually understand how anyone would arrive at the cops are arresting a criminal there, or they're detaining a criminal, someone who's got a criminal past. Like, that would be their assessment, and perhaps you think that people with a criminal past don't deserve the same humanity you deserve if you're pulled over and sarcastic.
A civilian getting annoyed that they're pulled over can't be new for these cops. Like, that's the only thing that it just doesn't make sense to me here. They probably deal with a half a dozen people who are annoyed they're pulled over every day. It's like, it's your job. You're paid. You're the one here that's paid to de-escalate. You're supposed to be prepared for the civilian to be emotional about this because they're not working right now. So it's just, I don't understand the confusion about this.
Yeah, I just feel like there's so many bad faith arguments about this. Like, we all saw what happened. There's no evidence to suggest that the cops handle the situation better if he only did this. I mean, it's the same argument you hear from people who are arguing in bad faith anytime one of these body cam video gets released. And it's like, well, they should have complied. They should have complied. What evidence do you have that this situation could have gone any differently, given now knowing
if he did comply,
now knowing what you know about what these police officers did? Like, you're just giving them the benefit of the doubt, and I think the point is that we've been shown time and time again that, like, you can't automatically give them the benefit of the doubt in these situations. Like Chris said, this is what they're paid to do. This is what they should be trained to do: de-escalate and to not turn a traffic stop into an unlawful detainment of someone.
But I think some people are thinking, I agree with you, Jess, but I think some people are saying Tyreek Hill contributed to that escalation.
Yes,
he did.
On the pie chart, like
yes.
5%, 3% of, like, yes, he didn't say immediately, oh, I'm so sorry for speeding, as most people would. And it's just a crazy, both cops all of a sudden in his window, like, oh, that's it. Get out of the car. Roll your window down or get out of the car. You know what? You're getting out of the car. Like, there was 0 seconds for him even to comply.
There's also part of this video where they're yelling at Jonnu Smith, and, like, there's different people yelling different instructions at him at the same time, and he's trying to just, like,
get in the car. Give me your license.
Right. And it's like, comply with what? Like, it's not clear what they really want anyone to do at any time. They just were screaming.
I actually do understand, Stugotz, and I think I'm going to end up having to walk something back from yesterday because I've talked to people who know more about these things than I do, and they do believe that the Miami police force is going to rally around, because the police have this community of, it's a very difficult job, and it comes with a great deal of disrespect. And the only people who know how difficult a job it is are the people who are doing it. And so they team up in us against the world when something like this happens. And I do now wonder, in a way I wasn't wondering yesterday, whether the Dolphins statement or the publicity of this will end up with anything beyond administrative leave. Once this gets pushed down the road, the lights go away, the noise goes away, you throw it to the union, the police union, and then people, police officers have killed and gone back to work. And This doesn't obviously go to that level. I do understand how the police right now in this country feel like they're under attack. That they feel that everyone's watching them and this without understanding how it is they do their job. And we're all critics when they do it poorly. And there are times when they do it poorly that they die because they're in a really dangerous job. So they have to be doing something. We're all here to be the Monday morning quarterbacks after they've done it wrong, when if that tinted window goes up and then comes back down and he's shot by somebody in a car, we're not taking into account that their goal at the end of the night is to simply get home safely to their own families, and Miami can make that difficult. So I do understand once we start having these conversations about race, why it is some people end up on the side of the police officers. I just don't know how you can see what we all watch together and anyone in our audience arrive at, yes, that's how police should do their job if I were the one involved there. I just don't think that, well, maybe if I were the one, you would want police to do their job that way, if it was specifically me being pulled over. But if it were you being pulled over, I don't think anyone would say that's how. And have we all been talked to by cops that way? Because I certainly have on a number of times before I've even said anything.
Oh yeah, I've spoken to cops in a way that I'm not proud of, and yes, cops have spoken to me in a way that's demeaning. Of course, yes, for a traffic violation. So it's an interesting, did Tyreek Hill? I think the most damning thing about this whole thing, Dan, is once they realize it's Tyreek Hill, you hear one of the cops drop an F-bomb, right? Because they're like, oh, man, this is bad for us. This is going to be a bad look for us. As if they knew it was. If they knew it was Tyreek Hill, they would have treated that person differently. That's pretty bad, no?
Yes. I mean, it doesn't rise to the level of top 5 worst things about this.
No.
But yes.
But it's why I use your name all the time when I get pulled over. I mean.
But it implies we do this often and nothing comes of it. Oh, shit. This one's going to get out.
This one's going to, this one, let's immediately put someone on administrative leave before an investigation or anything because we all watched the video. Can we talk about the game? Because we've spent 3 days here without talking about anything except Jason Sanders as it relates to the game.
I do want to talk about the game, but I just want to recap something. You went to a Dolphin game with your dad and rooted for O.J. Simpson?
Yes.
Wow. Huh.
Yeah, my father got the worst tickets. Nobody wanted the Bills tickets. Nobody at his office. The Bills were the worst team, and they only had one good player.
The biggest takeaway for this Dolphins game for me is that you're hearing all the reaction after the game from players talking about Tua at halftime. That it's a Tua they've never seen before, kind of along the lines of our interview with him. He just seems to be a different guy. Like apparently Tyreek was saying that he heard his Hawaiian accent for the first time, the way he was like laying into the team, calling guys out specifically. So, I mean, it's pretty clear that Tua is a different guy. We'll see how it plays out, but he just is different.
He ended up being a different guy after halftime, too, because in the first half, he was missing throws. He was going long. He was going short. Like, he didn't look like the Tua that we had seen in the season prior. And then all of a sudden, after halftime, I think he goes 12-16, 200-some-odd yards, touchdown. Like, he looks good. So something happened there in between, because in the first half, he didn't look good whatsoever.
Well, one of the things that I would say to you makes this Dolphin period, this era, something that's more exciting than anything that has existed in the years of the 2000s. I'm not afraid of deficits.
Right.
That's super different.
Yes.
Like that's not Dolphins get down 20-7 almost for a decade, and I'm like, there's not going to be any rallying from this.
Well, I think fair to say that fumble, the Holland punch fumble, that was the play of the game. Because if that doesn't happen, touchdown, Jaguars are up 24-7.
Yeah. Game over.
Do we believe Javon Holland when he says, I was working on that all offseason?
I do believe him.
Like, I just love it. Like, I feel like fumbles are random.
Nah, the Peanut Tillman, he punched it.
No, that was a peanut punch. That was a skilled.
I work on that at the office
punch.
sometimes.
I mean, he said he was going in. He was desperate, and that's what he works on doing in the offseason. That's what he was taught to do.
How cool is that? If he's literally working on that all offseason, the biggest play of week one,
right?
And it literally
paid off.
Works.
Yes.
Everyone works on that.
Yes, and furthermore,
I don't. Billy, I think you're the only one here.
No, ask Tony. Tony will walk around and I'll just walk by and I'll try to punch the ball out. Like you guys don't do that. If you see a friend walking around the ball, you don't try to just knock the ball out when you walk past him. I feel like it's normal instinct behavior.
How often?
Maybe I'm just an NFL.
Now that I'm thinking about it, he's right.
How often are your friends just like carrying footballs around? Like
around
all the time?
this office all the time. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. But if there is a friend carrying a ball around, you always try to knock it out.
Always.
I can tell you, when you ask me how often are they walking around carrying a ball around me, not for long.
Put it on the poll. My brother loved to do that. It was one of his favorite comedic devices, but not with balls, with plates of food. He would just.
That is funny.
Classic. Funnier, yeah.
Did he clean it up at least? Or?
No.
Okay, well.
Wait, so he'd like smack a plate of food out of your hand?
Yes.
Or like a beverage?
That's good humor.
Yes.
Yeah, it is.
He would also slap those out of my hand. I often had good humor ice cream in my hands.
That's just looking out for you, yeah.
A couple of things on all of this that we're talking about. One, it's legitimately funny to think of football as already the kind of violent that it is. And if you're not working on punching the ball out all offseason, you might be slightly less accurate than hitting the ball. So now we've just gotten to the place where people are actively punching each other in football, just straight up punches, because that's what we're doing now in football. And as it relates to the real confidence that Tua has now, Stugotz, I would say, Jess, 24/7, I'm not eliminating the Dolphins anymore from the ability to come back from 24/7. I understand why anyone would view that as a game-changing play. It was, but I've seen enough from this offense's ability. It's a rare thing, Stugotz. When Tom Brady is telling you again and again, and people are making fun of him, 10 yards is really hard to get and 20 yards is really hard to get. The Dolphins have the rarest of things. They've got a guy who can go 80. Like, they've got a guy who can eliminate your mistakes by being that.
They have two guys.
They've got one guy who everyone in the league knows can go 80, and then they have other guys that can also do it. It's just not something I've seen from this offense before, and it makes me understand why their quarterback would be that kind of confident.
What makes Tyreek so special and so fun to watch is he could take your 10-yard pass and make it an 80-yard touchdown. It doesn't have to be an 80-yard pass. He can take any pass and turn that thing into a touchdown, and Waddle did it too in that game. They're great. I mean, they're fun to watch, and this game tomorrow is a big game. I know it's week 2, Dan, but this is a big game. You have to win. If you want this division, you have to win your home game against Buffalo.
It's an early must-win.
Yeah, it is.
For both teams, possibly.
Yeah. Wow.
Division could come down to one game, and this could be that game.
Oh, my God. That's a big one, man.
I'm going to put it on the poll at Le Batard Show. Has there ever been a Game 2 must-win for both teams game in the history of games? Because no is the answer to that.
Not yet.
I mean,
until tomorrow. Ask that same question Friday, and you'll see very different results probably.
I mean, if we're doing predictions for tomorrow's game, and we just have to do this. That's right. It's time for Against the Spread. And it's brought to you by our friends at DraftKings. Stay tuned because you're going to hear about all that DraftKings has to offer throughout the show. DraftKings, the crown is yours. Jess, what do you got?
I've got Bills at the Dolphins.
Wow.
It's a 2.5-point spread right now for the home team, for the Dolphins.
Who are you going with?
I'm going with the Dolphins.
Let's go.
Short week. They got to play at home last weekend.
Wow.
I think the offense got things going in the second, specifically the fourth quarter. I got end of the third, beginning of the fourth. I think that they're going to win this one.
Against
the spread.
Billy, do you have any commentary on Josh Allen's face before this game?
On his face?
Yes.
Why would I have
his
such
stupid,
a comment?
His stupid face? Is his face going to look stupid? What do you...
He buried the hatchet.
I think he's due for an arm punt in this game.
Really?
A couple. I don't think he got them all out of his system.
Okay.
Tony, what do you got?
I'm going opposite of Jess here. I think it's a trap game for the Dolphins.
Oh, wow.
Small line. I think the Buffalo Bills are going to come in, run the ball like they did against the Cardinals, and win outright. But I'm going to get them against the spread plus 2.5.
Billy, break our tie.
I love this. 1 Bills, 1 Dolphins. I am going to go with the Buccaneers plus 7 in Detroit.
I love that. I really do.
I feel
Great
like that line is crazy big in favor of the Lions. The Lions won, as we all know, 26-20 against the Rams, but it took them to get to overtime to do it, and they gave up a lot of yards. They gave up 387 yards of total offense, 304 passing yards to the Rams. The Buccaneers, as we know, have Baker Mayfield, who may or may not have been the MVP of Week 1 and may be leading the MVP race right now, Dan.
Sam Darnold
They
was.
beat the Commanders commandingly, 37-20 this past week, and Baker had 289 passing yards and 4 touchdowns. And they had 392 total offensive yards. That's a lot of yards, and the Lions just gave up a lot of yards. I don't think that the Lions are going to win by 7, and that's against the spread. That's spread.
Unbelievable research. I mean, oh my God.
I was kind of hoping, though, that because we were talking about the Bills,
cursed.
because he is named Billy, I thought we
My
would
fantasy
get...
team was once known the Buffalo Billies. Did you know that?
Oh, wow, what a name.
Why would I
cute.
want to know that?
Just a fun fact.
IES or YS?
No, YS.
Fun fact about Sam Darnold, according to Computer Cowboy, Ben Baldwin on Twitter, his adjusted EPA was the highest in the NFL last year, which is adjusted for pass protection, receiver drops, dropped interceptions, luck on interceptable passes, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So I think you can say with confidence he was the Week 1 MVP.
Sam Darnold?
I kind of agree this is a trap game.
I kind of do too, but I wanted to pick the Dolphins.
Against the spread.
But why do you think it's a trap game?
It's a classic trap. All the groundwork is there.
Why isn't it a trap for both
No, there's no such thing as a double trap week 2. That's crazy talk.
It's at night, so they don't have the sun advantage either.
That's a great point by Jessica.
I'm taking Buffalo.
It's still going to be unbelievably swampy hot, though.
Yeah, but not for the whole game.
Yeah. They should bring in some heaters.
It will be swampy hot for the entire game, I promise you.
I'll bring the heaters.
How is this a trap game for the Dolphins?
I don't understand how it's a trap game for anybody.
Their next 2 games are against worse or less teams.
They're both very good teams. I don't understand why it's a trap game.
It's Thursday,
It's not a trap
It's a
game.
let your guard down game.
It's a Thursday game. It's not a let your guard down game.
His guard is down,
It's
trust
a
me.
division rival. How
They
can it be a let
both
your
know
guard
how
down game?
good the other team
No,
is.
literally their biggest rival. Because they're thinking this is week 2. We can take our foot off the pedal right now.
Who is thinking that? The Bills or the Dolphins?
I think the Bills.
I think the Dolphins.
Oh, wow.
What about the Bucks?
Well, the Bucks we know are going to keep the foot on the gas.
Nobody cares about the Bucks.
That's not true, Dan. Fuck you.
Baker Mayfield was 5th in adjusted EPA.
Did you see Bucky Irving? The hell is adjusted EPA? My wife drafted Bucky Irving. I couldn't believe it. I was like, who the hell is that?
Yeah, that is a good game.
What a game, Bucky Irving. On the Bucks, perfect fit.
Exactly right.
Well, the perfect marriage.
It's also the Environmental Protection Agency.
Imagine if the Dolphins picked some guy named Dolphy. Everyone would love him. I will not imagine that.
Buffalo Billies.
I still don't
It's a good team
understand
name.
why it's a
It's a
trap
good
game.
team name.
It's a terrible.
It's a really good team.
It's not a trap game.
No, it's a trap game. I'll tell you why. My logo is a
It's
buffalo
different
head.
trap
They play the Seahawks.
They're both they're good. It
No,
can't
they
be a
don't.
trap
You're
game.
not listening.
They're not
Stop
doing
talking
it.
so
There's
loud.
not another opponent.
They play the
better.
Bills again early. No,
These are the two best opponents in the division.
No. People still are high on the Jets. Listen, they play the Bills this week. Literally, they play opposite of the Seahawks, then the Titans, Patriots, Colts, Cardinals, all winnable games. Then they play the Bills again. Oh wow! So it's easy game, hard game, hard game. They get this one.
They get them early this year.
Twice.
In Buffalo early, though.
Yeah. This could be that classic Greg Maddux type game where one team lets the other team win, so they get overconfident, and then the next matchup in Buffalo, they think this is gonna work, and then boom, it does not work. Trap.
I feel like the Patriots is actually the trap game.
This might be a lay the trap game for the trap game.
That's not a trap game. That's a bait and switch game.
This
That's
is a
different
lay the
thing.
trap game.
That's a different thing. That's the old switcheroo. It's not a trap game. It's not a trap game.
Shh. Keep your voice. It's a library.
Jacoby Brissett.
Can anyone hear this?
That guy can win you a playoff game. Push came to shove.
Why did you bring up Jacoby Brissett?
Just because.
It's a good point. We don't know. Could be Drake Macy's.
He played good.
Jacoby Brissett wasn't even thinking about Jacoby Brissett there. Why are you thinking about Jacoby Brissett?
It had to be said.
It didn't have to be said.
Some people are saying it had to be said.
There's a lot of winnable games on this Dolphins schedule, by the way.
We're forgetting the Mike White factor.
What's the Mike White factor?
He was signed by Buffalo to their practice squad. Chris said that he should hold him out. He has their playbook.
Knows all the plays.
The Bills are gonna know what's coming.
No, he's a double
because
agent.
of Mike White.
He's
Oh, a double agent game.
He's actually lying about the calls to the Bills so that he can help the Dolphins win.
He signs with the Bills, gives them fake plays. He then proves to be useless. They fire him. Then he comes back to the Dolphins with the Bills plays. That's Mike White.
Next level.
Genius. He hasn't been disavowed. It was a faux disavowal.
He's our hometown kid.
Just like Ethan Hunt. Big game for Jason Sanders.
Oh, no doubt.
If that guy misses a kick, if that guy even hits the crossbar, he needs to be cut immediately. He needs to be cut immediately. If he even looks at that crossbar. On the team. Nothing but net.
How is
The
he
back
not
of the
supposed
net.
to look at the crossbar when he lines up his
That's for him to figure out on me. He's had ample opportunities to not be missing kicks.
He hit a game winner.
He
also
created
missed
his
one.
own game winner.
The Bills are never looking past the Dolphins, and the Dolphins are never looking past the Bills.
Not a trap game. Dolphins
Not
are
a
looking
trap
past the
game
Bills.
in any way.
Setup game, though.
Dolphins are looking past the Bills. Just be careful.
I don't remember why we're whispering.
Because they're listening.
The Dolphins are one punch away from owning.
Stop laughing.
They are one punch from being 0-1. They are. But I believe in them to come back when they're down, if they haven't been trapped by thinking that the Bills aren't any good, even though the Bills have won the division.
Not a trap game. Not a trap. Lay the trap game.
Trap D's.
What's the difference between
don't get it.
trap? I don't get it. I
You don't-
clearly.
You don't get it.
You know what? I changed my mind. It's a trap game.
See, I told you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Wait, so who do we have winning?
I don't remember.
The
Bills.
Jacoby Brissett.
Yes, the real winner. Obviously, that's the real trap game too.
This interview with Trey Wingo is presented by LinkedIn Jobs.
Yes, Trey Wingo.
Yeah.
Last seen walking around behind Stugotz, the fringes of Kansas City through the parking lot. Stugotz took a photograph in front of a bunch of porta potties, and then soon thereafter, Trey Wingo was in the middle of all things football. Let's welcome him in the way that Stugotz would most like, by doing a top 5 list of places that Belichick is most likely to end up after week 1.
Right. This could change, but this is just after week 1.
That's right. After
Yes.
week 1, we're
Yes.
going to want to update this every week. So number 5, Stugotz.
Notre Dame.
Wow. All right. Good start to the list. Number 4.
The Cincinnati Bengals.
Number 3.
Dan, the Bengals could be 0-2 after this week. They play the Chiefs. Number 3, New York Giants.
Don't they always beat the Chiefs? It seems like they can always beat the Chiefs. Number 2.
You're right. Jacksonville Jaguars.
Number 1.
The Jets. I'm telling you right now, if I'm Woody Johnson, I call Belichick. I see if he's interested. If he is, I fire Saleh today. I hire Bill Belichick. That's just me.
All right. He's the host of the new DraftKings Network show, Pregame Power Up. It's kicking off every Monday and Thursday night from 6 to 7 p.m. on the DraftKings Network. If you did not notice yesterday, this is what actually happened with Stugotz. He offered to us, if he loses against Tennessee, Saleh should be fired. We had no reaction to that. Then he updated it to he should be fired right now. Then he updated to he should have been fired yesterday.
Yeah.
And he'll keep going until he gets the reaction that he wants. But let's start here
my point.
with Trey Wingo. Thank you for being on with us. A, what did you make of Stugotz's list? And B, how much trouble is Saleh actually in New York if that doesn't work quickly?
It has to work quickly or everybody's in trouble. I mean, let's just be honest about that. I love the list, Stugotz. I would say the Giants is probably most likely in that scenario because that's where he cut his teeth. And obviously that's where, his game plan against the Bills, defensive game plan, Super Bowl 25, is still a masterpiece. He basically told the defense, we're going to let Thurman Thomas run for as many yards as he wants to, but we're going to knock the crap out of those receivers every chance we get. And that's how they got that 20-19 win over the Bills when Norwood missed wide right. So also, I just think it's very important for me, and I appreciate you guys keeping me forever for your audience, me and Porta Potties together, because I think that's accurate.
Yeah.
And I think it's a good way for me to be remembered on this show always.
How many people refer to you as Hal?
Not many, actually. Stu, obviously all the time, and you occasionally, but every once in a while I'll get a Hal, but mostly it's just Trey.
Trey is a great upgrade from Hal. I mean, it really is.
Yes, blessed. To me, now looking at me now, this is going to sound funny, but when I was growing up, Hal is such an old man's name. Maybe I should change it now. I don't know, but
Back to Hal?
back to Hal. Hey, Hal's here. Get your kids off my lawn.
Juju, put it on the poll, please, at Le Batard Show. Are we still making Hals? Your belief, Trey, is that if I were to say to you, the best team in football the last 5 years has been the San Francisco 49ers. The Chiefs just have a better quarterback. You agree with that or don't agree with that?
Well, I would say here's the way I would answer that question. I think, yes, the 49ers roster top to bottom has been the best for a long time. If you go 1 through 53, it'd be hard to find a team that you would like more than 1 through 53. But to your point, and this is not a slight in any way to Brock Purdy, 15 is 15. That dude is freaking magic. The coldest thing I've ever heard is what he did last year before the final game of the regular season, where they beat the Chargers and he didn't play. And it was his worst season ever in terms of wins and yards per attempt and all this kind of stuff. And the receivers were terrible and they dropped all these passes and all this junk. He texted his family and said, I've decided we're going to win the Super Bowl. Not that we're going, or I think we have a chance to win, or we're going to do it. I've decided we are going to win the Super Bowl. And they had one touchdown drive in that Super Bowl. And what was it? In overtime, when they needed a touchdown to win the frickin' game. He runs forward on 4th and 1. Marquez Valdes-Scantling goes backwards for 8 yards. He erases that in 2 more plays, runs for another first down, hits Travis Kelce for a first down, then hits Mecole Hardman for the game winner. Dude is the coldest MFer I've ever seen. So, yeah, I would agree with your assessment. he's just the difference maker of all difference makers.
What is your takeaway on Jamar Chase sitting out all offseason, being unhappy with his money? And you can have Joe Burrow, but the Bengals have been a cheap franchise for as long as I've been alive, Trey. They run their place like a business in a way that suggests they don't actually have money. So how bad a problem do they have with Jamar Chase there?
Well, I think it's going to get ugly quickly if they fall to Kansas City at a game. That game's at Arrowhead. And I agree with you, Dan. Like, this has been sort of a new era of Cincinnati, right? When Zach Taylor got there and they drafted Burrow and they got Chase. Wow, the Bengals are doing the right things. Everything's great. And then Jamar holds out. And then, Mike Brown, who is the oldest of old school owners, said, well, now that the season's here, we're practicing, we're really not going to negotiate. And I talked to somebody that I trust. And I said, what is your feeling on what's going on in Cincinnati this summer? He said, the vibe is not good. And then you go and look what happened. I mean, there's the Patriots, kudos to Gerard Mayo and what they did. If you're the Cincinnati Bengals, you can't have that team walk into your building and win week one. You're the Bengals. You're the team, like you said, that routinely finds a way to beat the Chiefs in the regular season. And the only active quarterback to beat him in the postseason right now in the NFL is Joe Burrow of the Cincinnati Bengals. So yeah, there are things in Cincinnati that just aren't sitting well right now.
The Dallas-Cleveland game. Mm-hmm. Your thoughts? There weren't a lot of games that this weekend where I knew two good teams were playing, and Cleveland is a good team, but has the biggest quarterback problem in the entire league, I would say. Yes. So your thoughts off of Dallas and Cleveland?
Well, it's interesting, right? And the first thing I thought of, especially after the first half on the Cowboys, I think we're up 20-3, is like, wow, one quarterback is playing like he earned the contract in Dak Prescott, and the other quarterback is playing like he never should have been given that contract in Deshaun Watson. And, you'll hear Browns fans say, well, the offensive line was bad. The Cowboys defense is really good. And all of those things are true. But this is not a one-off for Deshaun Watson. Like, let's be honest about who he's been ever since he's been a Cleveland Brown. Ever since he got off that 11-game suspension a couple of years ago, he has not come close to being the Deshaun Watson that he was for the Houston Texans when he was putting up really big numbers and they were doing really, really good things together. There is a huge problem because his cap hit for the next 2 years, Dan, no matter what they do, if they cut him, they bench him, his cap hit for the next 2 seasons is $72 million. $72 million. There's no way around it. $72 million. And he had, this is a sort of a little deep dive into football nerdness here, but he was 0 of 10 on Sunday against the Cowboys on throws of 15 yards or more down the field. A friend of mine who used to work with me at ESPN named Doug Kloss, a great researcher. That's the worst percentage ever since they started keeping the statistic of air yards down the field in 2006. No one had ever been worse at those kind of throws. So this is a problem for the Browns. They made it to the playoffs with Joe Flacco last year, and Deshaun Watson is not getting it done right now, and they have to seriously think about playing Jameis Winston.
The funny thing is, Trey, I think you've been hanging out with Stugotz a little bit too much. You've got the Stugotz personal collection going on, like the hoodie with the hat. As you can see, Stugotz is, I think, wearing that right now. I think there's a little bit too much of you guys.
Well, I always just say, wherever I see Stugotz, I feel like he's on the end of a 4-day bender somewhere. So this is my homage. Yeah. This is my homage to Stugotz right here.
Let's go up. I want to cover a couple of your viral tweets here. The Bear, I want to ask you about this because the Bear wasn't on your deck. There was a great controversy around this tweet, so I'd just like a formal explanation before playing the looks like game with you. What happened here? What can you tell us about for clarity?
Oh, yeah. So this bear was on, not this bear, but a bear was on my porch. And I've shown Stugotz the bears that before on my phone that are on what used to be on my patio all the time. So this bear was on our porch. Was it 2018, 2019, 2020? I can't remember when it was. Anyway, and I couldn't get the camera out. And this was at like midnight or 10 o'clock at night because we were up watching something. So I put up, so a bear just walked up onto our back porch. I never said it was that bear, and I thought that was clear because I posted it at midnight, and it was a daytime photo. So
Is
yeah,
that bear
that's
wearing shoes? Is that bear
That's a
wearing
giveaway.
Is that bear wearing shoes?
It looks like it.
All right. All right, fine. Okay. So let me see the steak here that Trey Wingo put up, because I'd like to also get some analysis on what's happening here and what kind of commentary you got when you put this steak up.
Yeah, actually, that was from like 2 days before the bear thing. That was at Ruth's Chris in Indianapolis. We were there for the combine, and I thought it was a really good looking piece of meat, and I was very happy about my meal. And people went absolutely crazy. I think it looks a little darker than it actually was because of mood lighting in a fine dining establishment like Ruth's Chris. But it is kind of funny to me that steak photo got as many reactions as it did.
You didn't know that you were, you thought you were putting something out there that would be something that everyone would think is delicious, and instead they just judged you?
Overcooked.
Yeah, oh yeah. And then 2 years ago in Vegas, this guy came out, I can't remember his name, this is gonna sound terrible. He's Bum Chillips on
Spencer
Twitter.
Hall.
He's like,
yeah.
He's like, hey, that was me that did that. I'm like, oh, okay. Cool. He felt some sort of need to apologize for what he had done, and I was like, I really didn't really affect me in any way, shape, or form, and I appreciate you saying that.
To be fair, I mean, he did say that you ordered the earth and turf, and that the steak was made Pompeii style, and that it looked like Don Draper's lungs, and Smokey the Bear was just off camera with his head in his hands.
Yeah. Again, those are good lines. It didn't affect me in any way. I'm happy. I'm happy. It made him happy.
I never understood why people who get, because my dad's like this. He wants his steak bloody, okay? He wants it to be rare. I want medium well. And the people who get it undercooked hate the people who get it overcooked. Hey, it's my steak. I mean,
yeah, it is a line of demarcation in this country. Like there, people will freak out if you don't order your steak rare or medium rare at best. I like it like you, Stugotz. I like it a little more well done.
Called him steak.
No, call me stink. I think. I mean,
stink, steak, Stugotz. It's all the ST thing that's going through my head right now.
At Le Batard Show, how do you like your steak? Medium well or medium rare? Again,
try the earth and turf.
I will tell you again, Trey Wingo, pregame power up is 6 to 7 p.m. on the DraftKings Network. Before you get out of here, Trey, I want you to pick from among these 10 or so looks like from our look likes game and tell us which you like best. Trey Wingo looks like a bird of prey. Trey Wingo looks like a statue that comes to life and speaks in a movie. Trey Wingo looks like the red-faced soccer dad who charges the ref after a loss only to flop on the ground like a fish when accidentally being bumped by a 6-year-old. Trey Wingo looks like the guy who, when you first meet him, asks what your name is, then repeats it 3 times correctly, then says, I got it, and says it again incorrectly.
That has actually happened more than once.
Trey Wingo sounds like a 3-count chicken wing appetizer dish at a Mexican restaurant run by white people.
Yeah, there is a place in Georgetown called Wingo's that does sell wings, so there you go.
Trey Wingo looks like the guy who, while at his daughter's graduation party, sneaks all the other male guests to his garage to show off his 1978 Pontiac.
Actually, it's a 67 Mustang, but that's a separate discussion.
Trey Wingo looks like the public defender who has to keep looking at his court papers to remember his client's name.
Well, there's so many of them, and we don't get paid a lot. So, it's shooting by volume is how you do it as a public defender.
Nice seeing you again, Trey. Again, pregame power up. I urge you to watch what he's doing. His football knowledge is unparalleled. Every Monday, Thursday night from 6 to 7 p.m. on the DraftKings Network. Thank you, Trey.
You got it, guys. Anytime.
Thank you, Hal.
We've been talking behind the scenes here, and we haven't gotten to it yet in the month, Stugotz, that we've been talking about it. Our most historic game, baseball, where the numbers still really matter. What was that sound?
I don't know if they matter as much as they used to. I mean, the steroid guys kind of ruined the numbers, right?
Agreed, but they still do matter. They matter less than they used to, but the White Sox are on the cusp of doing something really historic in that they are the worst team I've ever seen. And the record for being the worst team you've ever seen is held by the expansion 1962 Mets that lost 120 games. And the White Sox are on pace to be worse than them. Every time I look up, they're losing 5-0. Like, it's an always thing. Their slugging percentage offensively as a team is Zach Greinke's slugging percentage.
Crazy.
The pitcher, Zach Greinke, the way that he hits, that's what the White Sox do as an offense. And we were talking about, should we do this the way that the 1972 Dolphins every year, when all the undefeated teams in football are gone, the 72 Dolphins get together and toast champagne? We were actually looking for 1962 Mets.
Oh, really?
To see if they would want to celebrate with us, a bunch of old guys, at a team being worse than they are.
They don't want a team to be worse than they are, do they? I mean,
I think
it's a distinction. They're the worst team in the history of baseball. They're about to lose that. No one's going to remember them.
Well, I'm not sure how alive any of the 1962 Mets are to celebrate some of this with us so that we can ask them whether they would enjoy it or not. But can I have some imaging? Can you just put together real quick, Chris, some imaging that would allow me to celebrate the putrid Chicago White Sox?
Dan, the White Sox are really bad.
White Sox, go, White Sox. Let's go, White Sox.
Back to you, Dan.
All right, excellent work, Chris, as always. A couple of White Sox stats for you, Stugotz. Every team in the AL Central is above 500. The division, though, is 43 games under 500. So every other team in the AL Central is above 500. It's a good division, except for the White Sox, who bring the division down to 43 games under 500. In the second half of the season, they are 6-44.
Oh boy,
Jesus,
my God.
Yeah, it's unfathomable. Since July 10th, okay, that's 2 months ago. The Bears have won as many games in Chicago as the White Sox. That's impossible.
Yeah. I'm searching for a 62 Met who is still alive.
I was on the same beat. There's only one guy who was born after 1940 on the roster.
If they are still alive, though, they should go out for those Trey Wingo steaks to celebrate being the worst team every year.
What's that poll going to come back? Do more people like their steaks medium rare than medium well?
It'll come back in favor of medium rare because the people who do medium well they're too ashamed and they'll vote for medium rare.
What about medium rare plus? What do we do with those people?
What is a plus? What do you mean?
It's like an extra degree.
Yeah.
Stugotz is so right, though, about the judginess.
Right.
Because us medium well people, I'll be with Stugotz. I like a good medium well sometimes.
Yes.
I'm mainly medium, but sometimes medium well. And I don't judge you medium rare people. Hey,
I
medium rare
judge
people,
you.
leave us alone.
No,
okay?
but if you order it rare, I'm fine with it. It's your steak. You're eating it. I'm not splitting it with you.
You order your steak how you want, and I'll order mine how I want.
You order your steak how I want, because I'm going to eat some of your steak when I'm done with my steak.
That's true. I don't finish my steak a lot.
But I love a porterhouse for two. There is nothing better than a porterhouse sliced up for two, and I can't get it with my dad. I can't do it. He wants rare. I want medium well. We can't do it.
You can't split a steak, but what you can do is try it Pittsburgh style, which is they char the outside, but the inside is rare.
Yes.
You think the porterhouse is the best steak?
Too fatty for me.
I do.
You think it's the best steak?
You get filet on one side, you get strip on the other side, you take that bone home, you give it to the dog. It is wonderful.
Give it to the dog.
Yes. Yeah, I do.
There's not going to be any meat left on that bone when I'm done with it. It's my bone.
Put it on the poll.
You like the ribeye, huh?
At Le Batard Show.
Tomahawk?
I mean, filet mignon, I think, is supposed to. I've just not
You
heard.
get that on the porterhouse.
I have not heard a lot of people say the porterhouse is the. Yeah, but I'd like it to all be filet.
Oh, I see. You don't like the strip. That's
I'm
the
with Dan.
problem. Right.
Give me the lean stuff.
Oh, I'm a strip guy. The
Right.
nice little fat on the top.
I like a good palomilla.
That's what, Dan, next time you and I go out for steak, I will get a porterhouse for 2. You can have the filet side. I will gladly take the strip side.
Attaboy.
You're probably thinking, why don't you just order a strip?
I'd just like to put it out to the audience at Le Batard Show. Is porterhouse the best of the steaks? And I'd like to see whether or not you're going to get agreement on that. You just said medium well, which while I don't want to judge you, I will say that anyone who does order medium well, probably not a steak aficionado. Like that's not somebody
really?
who. Well, I
There's
think
a certain way you have to order to
look,
be a steak expert.
what I would say to you is
Really?
this.
I didn't know this.
Most people I know who fancy themselves real steak eaters, they want it rarer the better. Like that's what they want. I'm not one of them. I'm not somebody who I like mine a little more charred.
Most people who fancy themselves steak eaters need to get an identity.
Put it on
My
the
whole
poll.
identity is I eat steak. Okay, good for you.
I know how to eat it.
Exactly right. Congrats.
Put it on the poll at Le Batard Show. Do most people who identify as steak eaters need to get a new identity? I think, Billy, that there are many people in our audience who are allowed to be both steak eaters and have other portions of their identity. I think you are allowed
I wasn't
to
talking about those people.
identify.
You brought them into this, not me. I love those people.
But the steak portion is the most important part of their identity.
I don't believe
they take it very seriously.
I don't believe there are anybody. I don't believe anyone listening to this would identify first and foremost as a steak
no,
eater.
it's. I mean, come on, it's a thing, right?
Yeah,
And
I
same
mean-
people with the wine. They go. How about just down the hatch, enjoy it, and let's move on with the rest of our lives.
To be fair, Dan, you didn't meet any of the fine people at the Key West Invitational Fishing, Lobster, and Barbecue Contest.
Pros.
Those are
Yeah.
steak people.
Yeah.
I think
meat
there are more wine people than there are steak people
Oh,
who
I can't stand
identify
those people
first
either.
and foremost
Yeah.
as a
I thought you were a
wine
LeBron
person.
guy.
It all tastes the
Alcoholics.
same. I mean, give me a break. They're grapes crushed. I mean, Jesus. I can't stand wine people, Dan. I mean, seriously. Like, they know the difference between,
They do.
They don't.
Oh, this tastes like leather. Like, what are you eating leather for? Like, what are we doing here?
They sift it around in their glass. Just drink the wine from crying
Aren't
out
all
loud.
blank
Peppery.
people annoying? Like if you're so
Whoa.
into something
Whoa.
that we call
Whoa.
you blank
Whoa.
people.
Not all people.
like it's like
Not
a
Le Batard
motorcycle
Show
guy or
Go
a
on.
music guy.
Whoa.
Like any people
Uh-huh.
that are
Whoa.
just too into something, you're annoying.
Whoa.
Be
Except if
careful.
you're really into
What?
our show, and then you're great.
I'm
and we
perfectly
love
careful
you.
right now. I feel really safe
Fine.
where I'm at.
When you're too into something that's not very important. Fair?
just
That's what you're saying.
Coffee guy.
Yeah, right.
Coffee
You're
people.
saying steak's not important?
Coffee is very
No,
important.
steak is important. Coffee is important. It's not important enough to be an expert on
Hey,
it.
video game
Right.
guy, no one gives a shit what your chair is, okay? Just
Whoa.
saying. It doesn't matter.
Whoa.
All these things, if you're too into something, you're annoying.
Fantasy football guy.
Fantasy Gino, super annoying.
Yeah.
All he talks
Buffalo
about.
Billies.
You're just telling me about his waiver wire. I don't care, Gino.
Stugotz, you're ignorant. I am not a wine person,
Well, thank you.
okay? But your ignorance on dismissing wine people as not knowing the differences between wines because you don't know the differences
cares?
between wines.
Put it in a glass, I'll drink it.
Exactly.
I mean,
Down the
geez.
hatch. I said it once. I'll say it again. Whoop.
You need
That's
a glass?
Right.
Snob.
Well,
I'll drink it out of a
Plastic
bottle.
cup.
Yeah. Oh, Manischewitz. I mean,
But you waving around your ignorance in the face of the wine people who would look at you and say, "Hey, football guy,
They're
you
making
care a
that
little
up,
too
though.
much about football. You get a little too much of your identity around football."
Football
but
guys
football
are good.
matters.
Yeah,
That
football
doesn't-
guys are fine.
Yeah, thank you.
That's
Exactly
the one
right.
group.
wine people are making it up, right? Like we can agree on that. Like when you
cannot
go
agree
and
on
you're
that.
like, oh, what is it? Like, well, what essence do you take? Just tell me what's in it. Like this is it's a
Right.
fact. What is in it? Tell me. Like, well, what note do you find? It's like just tell me what's in this wine.
Right.
It's not up to me. I'm asking you the question. Just they don't know. They don't know what's in there.
it's like Art Guy who sees something that no one else sees.
Oh,
Oh
art
my
guy.
gosh.
Art
Jeez.
guy.
Oh, God.
Get me that 3D art that you just stare at, you cross your eyes, then boom, 3D image right in the middle of it. You know what I mean? That's the only art we need.
Since
That
the
and Where's Waldo? That was fun. Where's Waldo?
Bingo.
start of the Major League season on March 28th, The White Sox have 10 more wins than the Boston Celtics.
What?
10. They last won back-to-back games June 27th through June 29th. The things that have happened since then, the Panthers, Florida Panthers, had a parade. The Olympics and Paralympics took place in Paris. The new NCAA video game was released.
How about baseball people? Just shut up.
Just shut up already, baseball guy.
James. The numbers mean something.
The 1962 Mets.
Speaking of the 1962 Mets, Craig Anderson and Jay Hook are both the only surviving members of the 1962 Mets.
Really?
Let's get them. I'm sure they know how to work a Zoom.